Profiles, a show about living in Atlanta and purchasing a home here. Atlanta Community Profiles is hosted by Lou Whelan, who will talk to experts who know this ever-changing city and its real estate industry. We'll talk to mayors, community leaders, and residential real estate experts. Now, here's Lou Whelan with this week's Atlanta Community Profiles.
Hello there and welcome to our show. My name is Lou Whelan. I publish the official relocation guides on Atlanta on behalf of the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. We have magazines for the metro area by FMLS, also for North Fulton in partnership with the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, one for Gwinnett County in partnership with the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce, one for Cobb County in partnership with the Cobb Association of Realtors, and one for Inside 285. They are available at all real estate brokerage firms and most chambers of commerce throughout the metro area. Stop in, pick up a free copy. They are also on my website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. You're along with a great deal of additional information about Atlanta. I'm also a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties. If I can help you with any of your real estate needs, I'll be happy to do so. I work in mostly commercial, but also residential and investment property. And my website is LouWhelan, WIELAND.com. And the real estate market is strong for residential. We are forecasting an equally strong year next year. For the full year last year, there were 71,000 homes sold, and the prices were up. The sales were up actually 3%, and prices were up 5%. And that is pretty much our forecast for next year. So anyway, I have additional information on that subject on my website if you just look under the real estate tab. So anyway, that's a quick story on the real estate market. And as you know, every week we interview community leaders, people who are contributing to the well-being of our city. And it is my great honor today to have such an individual on the show, Brian Kemp, Secretary of State for the state of Georgia. Welcome back to the show, Brian.
Yeah, great to be back on with you, Lou. Always makes me feel good in the introduction where you say you have experts on.
Expert. You know? well,
people may question that.
If you're not an expert, we're in trouble. As Secretary of State, you're pretty responsible for making sure everything running a tight ship in the state. And let me see. Brian is. You're born and raised in Athens, is that correct?
Yeah, I was actually born in Atlanta. My mom was from Athens. My parents were there. My dad was with C&S Bank back in the day, got transferred over here. So I was actually born here, and then they moved right back to Athens. So I don't even remember Atlanta. I was very young. So I really can't tell people I'm a native Athenian, but I'm certainly a lifelong Athenian and have lived in Athens, for as long as I can remember anyway.
That is, may not be heaven, but it's sure close to it over there, especially with the Dogs playing kind of football they're playing this year. How's it look for next year? Are we going to have a good team next year?
We should. I mean, we're still real young. Kirby's and the guys are really working hard on. They've had a great recruiting class last year, and they're going to have a really good one this year. So a lot of good energy. Great system that they're implementing over there, and I think we saw in the Alabama game we got a little bit of exposed on our depth, and I think some of our offensive line, but he's bringing in some people that's going to continue to get better, and so I think people are very optimistic, as he is, about where we're going in the future. But it's really been exciting for our whole state, not just the University of Georgia, but a lot of other great things going on the gridiron and in college athletics in Georgia that makes us very proud from these great institutions of higher learning.
The University of Georgia football team has boosted our economy quite a bit, too, as a result of their outstanding athletics.
Yeah, it's been tough, too, to be a Bulldog fan from the pocketbook perspective this year. If you went to South Bend to Notre Dame, went to the Florida game, went to Pasadena for the Rose Bowl, and then paid for national championship tickets, I think people are ready to get back to work and try to refill the coffers after that.
Really? That's not that it's pretty expensive to be a Dog fan.
Yeah, well, hey, look, I think people are glad of it, though. It's been a while. We've been saving up for a while.
Well, Brian, first of all, let me say this. Thank you so much for your service to our community. I know that you put in some long hours, and you have accomplished a great deal in your term as Secretary of State. So you are on your bio, I say you're the state's top election official. But you have a lot of other responsibilities as well. And we're going to talk about those today and some of the things that you're most proud of accomplishing in your tenure as Secretary of State and in your candidacy for governor. You were elected to the Georgia Senate in 2002, and you served there until 2006. And you served as chairman of the Public Safety and Homeland Security Council Committee and vice chair of the Higher Education Committee. And graduated from Clark Central High School with a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture from Georgia, and is married to Marty Argo of Athens, and they have 3 daughters. You're actively involved in their school activities and member of Emmanuel Episcopal Church in Athens. So definitely appreciate your service to the community, Brian. And first of all, let me just start out by asking you, what are you most proud of accomplishing in your term as Secretary of State?
I think probably, there's a lot of accomplishments that we have, or I've put forward that I've had a great team that's helped implement. Certainly, the vision was coming from me, and it's, probably the most proud thing I could tell people is that when I was campaigning, I told them what I was going to do, and when I got in office, I simply did that. I think that's something that voters and Georgians and really people all across our country have been very frustrated with elected leaders that will say one thing and do another or do nothing at all. And so when I ran to be Secretary of State, I really told people what I wanted to do, and I had a commitment that when I got in office that I was going to fulfill those promises. I ran on streamlining the Secretary of State's office, using technology to make it more efficient and to make sure that we were fighting to have secure, accessible, and fair elections in our state. And we got a great record of doing that in many different areas. We've used technology, doing a huge statewide IT project that dealt with all 159 counties, changing our voter registration system, moving off the state's old mainframe computer system into a private sector web-based data center where we have a new platform that's web-based. It's easier for the counties to use. It's easier for them to train their new people that are coming in. It does a lot more work for those individuals at the county level than our old system did. We've got better service now. We have better cybersecurity. We got 24-hour monitoring to protect that system, and we've saved taxpayers millions of dollars in making that change. So that's just one instance of us using technology for the betterment of our state. Right now, our new corporate filing system, we have our annual registration deadline open, so anybody that's owns a corporation in Georgia, whether that's for-profit, non-profit, foreign, LLCs, whatever they are, you have to register those every year with the Secretary of State's office. So we've got the renewal period that's open. It started January 1st and goes through April the 1st. About 3 years ago, we implemented and moved to a new platform after years of struggling to really get what I wanted to get and have the best corporate filing system in the country. I believe we now have that. We continue to add bells and whistles to that. But we've literally set the records with the number of filings over the last 2 years, and through a couple of days ago, we had already doubled where we were last year. So it wouldn't surprise me if we set another record this year, but it's never been easier to file an annual registration. You can simply do it now with one click of a button, either on our website or on our free mobile app, which is GASOS. So we're very proud of that, and also we're using technology for voter registration. We now have where you can register to vote online or through our app 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So certainly have fulfilled the promise to make the office more efficient and use technology.
Well, your ears were probably burning this morning because I'm in a Bible study every Tuesday morning with Mike Boyce, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners for Cobb County, and we were talking about you, and I was telling him about our interview coming up, and he said, well, I asked him, what do you think, what would you like me to ask Brian? He said, ask him about how he would continue the legacy of Governor Deal in moving Georgia first in a business environment and perspective and prioritizing the business climate of the state and certainly a pro-business. And he gave me about 10 other questions for you, which I'll ask you after the break. But first of all, just let me ask you this. What do you agree that Governor Deal has really moved the ball forward quite a bit in business environment, and do you plan to continue that legacy?
Absolutely, he has, and I would look forward to discussing that some more and ideas that we have to keep it going for sure.
Okay, stay tuned. We'll be right back for a very lively discussion with the Secretary of State for the state of Georgia and candidate for governor. Welcome back. I'm Lou Whelan. I'm sitting here with our distinguished and Mike Boyce, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners for Cobb County, is in my Bible study from well before he ever thought about running today about Brian, and he said, well, Brian has got a very good business background, and that would hold him in good stead in terms of continuing the legacy of Governor Deal in terms of a pro-business climate and continuing our status as one of the premier states in the United States for pro-business climates.
And every day I've served in a political office, I've also been dealing with those type issues, so it keeps that perspective fresh in my mind. And I see us as the next thing we need to focus on is small business in the state, because when you move around our state and really look at the whole state, and I've been to all 159 counties. I feel like I know the state as well as anybody that's in elected office right now. And when you go to some communities, there are not the same opportunities that we have where we're sitting right here or where I live in Athens. And I think we need to focus on that, and a lot of that is having to do with small business people, entrepreneurs having opportunities in their communities. And it's not just from a business perspective. It's, with healthcare, education, not having access to high-speed internet, things of that nature. So it's not healthy for only parts of our state to be growing. We need all of our state to be growing. Not to saying we're going to, build mega projects in every county, but we do need to keep good opportunities in some of our rural communities to make sure that our people that are growing up there, our young folks, have opportunity. I certainly don't have an issue with anybody moving away for better opportunities or to explore the world or to go to D.C. or New York or wherever, but they shouldn't have to do that. There should be opportunities around the state for everyone. That'll make our state stronger and even better than it is now, and that's something that's certainly a focus of mine.
The 159 counties that you referred to, all are important, not just Atlanta and Fulton County.
No, correct.
And your background as Secretary of State puts you in an interesting paradigm from the standpoint of really getting a feel for the whole state from a macro standpoint, more so than pretty much anybody I know.
Well, and I think the good thing about the perspective I have is that the issues I'm thinking about to help those struggling areas around the state, they're also going to be helpful right here in Atlanta or in Cobb or Gwinnett. Our economy is driven by small business people. So part of my ideas moving forward is for us to have real regulatory reform where we're cutting out government bureaucracy and red tape and making it easier for people to do business with the government so they spend less time doing that. We're not putting roadblocks and hurdles in front of them to try to start a small business, to grow their existing business, or if you're simply just an employee that works in one of those businesses. I mean, if those businesses are doing good, perhaps those small businesses will then be able to provide health insurance. We got a crisis there as well with the current system not working. So those are the things that I'm going to focus on that won't only be good for areas outside the metro area, but areas good inside the metro area. And quite honestly, a lot of the great innovation that we have going on right here in Atlanta and in the metro Atlanta area can be helpful in other parts of the state. So it will grow business in Atlanta and be helpful to those outside. So I think there's great synergy that we have. I mean, we're literally the leader in the world when you think about financial technology, healthcare, IT, and cybersecurity. I believe we can add agriculture technology to that, where we have these bright minds at Georgia Tech and UGA and these entrepreneurs that are helping with all kind of innovations that will be good for farmers and agribusiness people. That will continue to grow our metro economy and also help some of these struggling areas. But we also got to be a state that, look, we're not just going on economic development missions to China and India or South America or Canada. We need to be going to California and Maryland, states where people are just regulating their businesses out of the state, taxing them out of the state, or they don't have enough water for their production facilities or their crops or whatever their business is. And we need to be telling those people, hey, you need to come to Georgia. We got great people. We got a great workforce. We got, a business-friendly government. We got good tax policy, and it's going to get better because I believe we can do real tax reform that helps all Georgians, not just the special interest. And we got a great story to tell.
You have a bachelor's degree in agriculture from the University of Georgia, and why is that important in the management of our great state?
Well, agriculture has, obviously built our economy in Georgia back in the day, continues to be the number one economic impact in the state when you think about agriculture. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's really big business. I mean, you think about broiler production with chickens and, exports that we're sending all around the world. I mean, Georgia is literally helping feed the world, so that's certainly a big part of our economy. But one of the things that I really like about our state, the more I've learned about it, is we've got such a diverse economy. Great ag sector. We got great tourism and hospitality industry in our state. We've got big business. We got small business. We got entrepreneurship. We've got a great place to live, work, and raise your family. And those are the things that I think give us really a good backbone to build off of what Governor's deal has done and take it to the next level. We got to challenge our leaders to come in and move the needle. We don't want to just keep the status quo, because if you do that, you're going to be falling behind.
So you've been involved in state government for, my math serves me, say 16 or 17 years now, right? From 2002 to 2018.
Yeah, I wouldn't cast it that way. I kind of pride myself that I served 2 terms in the state Senate, which was 4 years, and I went back home for 3, just focusing on my family and my business, and then decided to run for Secretary of State. So I'm certainly not a career politician, and I served 4 years in the legislature. I've done about 8 as Secretary of State, and as you know, I'm moving on now. I don't think we need to keep people in offices for too long. We need to continue to turn that over and have new, bright ideas coming.
Well, my producer is giving me the evil eye, so we have to go to this break. But when we get back, I'm going to ask Brian some of the priorities that need to emphasize in the state of Georgia going forward. And the million-dollar question is, how do we lure companies like Amazon, and not only small business, but big business, too? So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Sitting here with our our Secretary of State, Brian Kemp, who's winding down as her 8 years in service to our state. We are very grateful for your service to our community. And so we were talking a little bit earlier about the importance of small business, and big business is likewise important. And how would you recommend attracting companies like Amazon? And hopefully we're the number one candidate for Amazon, at least in alphabetical order from the potential places. So we're number one. If you just look at the alphabetical order ranking, we are the number one potential. So
yeah, if we just make everybody else disappear, we'd be good, wouldn't we?
As long as they make the decision based on alphabetical order, we're a shoe in.
That's true. Well, it is exciting to be, on the cut of 20, which is kind of interesting. They still have 20 people, but I think we put a great package together. Really I give a lot of credit to the governor and the city of Atlanta and a lot of other people that are working on that project. There's a very tight-knit group, so nobody really knows what's going on there, but I know they're working very hard, and Pat Wilson and the team at the Department of Economic Development and the folks at the city of Atlanta are, they're top-notch, and I know they'll put a good package together. For me personally, I think you've got to compete in that world for an opportunity like this, but we also have to make sure that Georgians and Georgia taxpayers are getting a return on investment. Sometimes the amount of incentives you're putting into these projects just are a loss leader, and they're not worth doing, and sometimes you have to walk away from those things, but other times it's worth it. And I think, like Governor Deal did when we got the Caterpillar plant to move a manufacturing facility back here, a major manufacturing facility that was 800 to 1,000 jobs, that was needed because we've lost a lot of manufacturing, and it sent the message that Georgia's open for manufacturing. I think the same thing with Baxter International that's down around Newton in Newton County and Walton County down I-20 east of Atlanta is a biopharmaceutical company. So it really put us on the map that we can compete in that world of technology, biopharmaceutical, those high science type businesses. And we got great marketing off of both of those projects. I mean, certainly Amazon is, known worldwide, so that would be a game changer for us if we can get it. And we'll see how that plays out. But I also caution people, too, Lou, that I don't know that it's the end of the world if we don't get Amazon, because we've got so many things to continue to build off of here in our state. And there's going to be a lot of people that lose out on the Amazon deal. There's only going to be one winner, and if we're not there, I think we need to be proud of our efforts, and but we also don't need to be too disappointed if we don't get it, because we've got Google out there and we've got others out there that are in play that we can continue to get and continue to build our economy, and having Amazon would also bring challenges. So, but I think Georgia's ready for all of those things. I mean, we're a leader in the country now in business. We've got, as I mentioned earlier, one of the most friendly business environments in the country, and everybody that comes to Georgia, they love our people. We're well known for a lot of things. A big airport, one of the fastest growing seaports in the country and probably the world. We got an unbelievable golf tournament in Augusta. We got great football here and sports and recreation and beaches and mountains. So we have a lot going for us. We just got to keep our nose to the grind, and we also got to make sure government's not getting in the way, that we're not, feeing things to death or taxing things to death, where we keep that competitive environment where we have enough coming in to fund our government, but we're also letting the free market economy work.
What's your paradigm on the movie business in Georgia?
Well, I think the movie industry is a good example of Georgia getting a good return on its investment. And that's really what I look for as a business person for these type issues. A lot of special interest groups have been getting tax breaks, which frustrates me because I don't know that we've really looked at the return on investment on all of them, but we should. But the movie industry, I think, is certainly something that the governor and the legislature have done a good job on. That we're getting a huge return on investment for the dollars that the state's spending, creating a lot of jobs, creating a lot of investment, and I'm talking about brick and mortar investment on the ground in our state, and that's what we want. But we have to continue to monitor those things. I'm certainly supportive of keeping the film tax credit in place because it is driving a lot of job growth in our state.
You know, I had a very interesting conversation with Mike Boyce this morning, very brief, but one of the things I asked him is, what do you think about the political divisiveness in our country? And how can we address that? Because it's detrimental, really, to our well-being as citizens. So before we go to the break, we have a second. What would you say? How would you say that we'll continue the discussion after the break?
Well, it's a lot worse to read about it in the paper than you actually see it in person. You know, I know in Georgia, if anybody walks into the Capitol today, you'll see a lot of people getting along on both sides of the aisle working on issues, and it gets contentious. But, you know, here in Georgia, thank goodness it's not as bad as what you may think.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back on that note. Welcome back. We're sitting here with the Secretary of State for the state of Georgia, Brian Kemp. And Brian, otherwise known as the state's top elections official. And you've accomplished a lot and improved the election process greatly during your tenure. And tell us a little bit about some of the things that are important to making sure that we do have elections run smoothly and fair to all concerned.
Yeah, it's really a big, operation. A lot of people don't realize. I mean, literally with elections. I mean, I'm a chief elections official for the state of Georgia, which means we really do the administrative part. It's your county superintendent and your county registrar that's holding the election. They're county employees that are in the polling places and running the local elections office and the registrar's office. But we really have a partnership with them because they have to follow the rules and the laws that are in place to protect our elections, make sure they're secure, accessible, and fair. It's our job in the Secretary of State's office to house a statewide voter registration system, which, 6 million people, on the voter rolls, and we have to make sure that that's up and available for elections officials to use to see who's eligible to vote in an election. And that's always a moving animal because there's always people coming off and there's always people going on. But we've done a tremendous amount. I mentioned the new voter registration system. I mentioned that we now have online voter registration in our state where literally any Georgian that's eligible can register to vote 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can now see your sample ballot on our website at the My Voter page. You can see who your elected officials are, your polling information. For military and overseas voters, you can now request an electronic ballot delivery, so we can email you a ballot, then you simply print it out, mail it back in, so it cuts the time in half for overseas voting and absentee voting for those military and overseas voters. So we're very proud of all those things, and we also have a really neat new program, Lou, that we haven't talked about. It's our Student Ambassadors Program. We started a program for high schoolers to promote voter registration. The school has to do that, and they have to have a deputy registrar in the school to promote that. This kind of takes that duty off of the school, so frees them up a little bit. But it allows these kids to be able to talk to their peers about voter registration. And we created this ambassadors program, and we actually train them on how to do that. We train them on about government, about leadership responsibilities, civic engagement, how we got to where we are with how many struggles certain people in demographics have to been able to get the right to vote and how important it is. And then they go back to their schools and they promote that within. It's been a huge success. The number of 17 and 18-year-olds that have registered to vote over the last couple of years has doubled. Just 3 years ago, we started with 14 high schools and about 165 kids in the ambassadors program. This year, we have over 150 high schools and over 1,600 kids participating. It's great on their resume. There's a contest to see who does the best job. We measure it with points on different scales that they get. You know, part of getting points is when they do community service or things like that. So we have these high school kids that are volunteering at their local elections office. They're serving as poll workers. They're doing Meals on Wheels, whatever it is. I mean, they're getting involved in their community. And it's just it's a great program. I was down in Effingham County end of last week and visited at Effingham County High School with some student ambassadors, and just you've never met sharper young people in your life that are involved in that from all kind of different demographics that are promoting that in their schools. So that's something that will live on long after I'm gone as Secretary of State, and something we're very proud of. But all of those things have helped us drive turnout, and we've seen that in this year's presidential election or 2016 presidential election. We saw record turnout in our state, even higher than 2008 when President Obama got elected in that wave election. So we were proud of that, to see such high turnout and participation in Georgia. And we saw that in the Karen Handel, John Ossoff special election. Normally special elections are very low turnout, but this one set a record, so we were very proud of that. And we continue to have more people on our voter rolls than we ever have before. So I think that's because of our efforts of making our systems not only secure but also accessible. And if you're doing that, it makes them fair. You know, our motto in the office to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat.
You can't say enough about the importance of getting our younger people involved in community service and knowledgeable awareness and interested in participating and contributing to the community. Nothing is really more important than that. So I'd like to, we don't have a lot of time left though, but I'd like to ask you to address the issues and the priorities of our state, and also your vision for the state of Georgia.
Well, I think going forward, it's really going back to what I say. We got to keep our economy going. I mean, if people have a good job and they're putting money in their pocket, and we have a low-tax environment, or if we can make the low-tax environment even lower, in my opinion, would be a good thing. I think that'll serve us well in the future. We have to continue to have an efficient government. We need to continue to cut government regulation, cut government bureaucracy, make sure that we're keeping up with the times where we can allow innovation. We've got to make sure that we're moving all of our state forward. That's something that I know because I've been to all 159 counties. And I think as leaders, we need to continue to make sure that we're putting Georgians first ahead of the special interest, the status quo, or the politically correct. And to me, that's something that people sometimes get frustrated with. They wonder, you know, who's down there fighting for me? Who's really fighting for me? You know, the working mom or the small business guy, or, you know, that plumber that we're licensing, or, you know, that real estate agent that's out there trying to make that next sale, or those executives at places like Home Depot, Coca-Cola, and wherever. I mean, we've got a lot to do, and we've got to keep it moving.
Thanks again for your service, Brian. It's fantastic to have you back on the show. We look forward to continuing to have you as a guest on the show. The election is May 22nd. Get out and vote. Nothing is more important than getting out and participating in that process. And now stay tuned for Dr. Bill Williams, Chairman and CEO of Swanee Dental Care, our dental health expert.